Hello, we're back, and I have my guest, the amazing, the wonderful, the fantabulous Barbara Carrellas. Now, my first memory of Barbara is seeing her at camp 2 or 3 years ago from over there, and she has a little posse of Barbara lovers who are, I've Nina lovers and the Barbara lovers, and so she was just the hub of this incredible group of people. And I was doing workshops on oral sex and stripping, and she was doing workshops on breathing and ecstatic breathing, as well as leading the incredible lighting people on fire before they jump into the pool nighttime light show. I'll call it, at the light show. Yeah, like the 60s, right. Totally hot. So she was just an incredible presence and energy at camp. Dark Odyssey Summer Camp. Try it, you'll love it. darkodyssey.com. We'll be there in September. And then I finally, she's a sex educator like me, so I finally got to know her a little bit better last year at camp when I went to her workshop. And you know how even though I'm a fancy schmancy teacher, you still always find people who know things that you don't know. And Barbara is much further along in the whole breath, breathing, energy flow than I am, even me. So I was thrilled when she was coming out to the West Coast, and I said, be on my show. So her website, urbantantra.org, and welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. To have a chance to talk with you. We don't talk as much as we should because we live on opposite coasts.
And we're each in each other's mutual admiration society. I mean, there is a very refined group of sex educators. We all know each other, but we don't hang out. Annie Sprinkle lives in San Francisco. I live in LA. You live in New York. Tristan lives in upstate New York. I mean, golly. And so to be in the same room at the same time. And then at camp, of course, you were running your workshops. I'm running my workshops. It's like, hey, woo.
See you at dinner, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But that's great. So what I love about you is, of course, the joy you bring to the world and your work. And so what motivated you to go from what you were doing before, which has nothing to do with sex education, to finding this new path for yourself?
I was originally a Broadway general manager and producer. I did Broadway shows. What changed everything was the AIDS crisis. And quite simply, at one point during the AIDS crisis, I was losing up to 4 friends a week. And yeah, not every week, but up to 4 friends a week. I went to a support group called the New York Healing Circle. I met Annie Sprinkle. The rest is sort of history. Annie and I started exploring Tantra quite simply because we were looking for a way for our gay male brothers to have ecstatic, mind-blowing sex the way they had been having in all-night disco raves on drugs, but a sex that was so ecstatic that they wouldn't even notice they were wearing condoms.
Fantastic. So speaking of ecstasy, obviously in our erotophobic culture, we have trouble with ecstasy. We take drugs for it, but we have trouble getting ourselves there without the use of chemicals. So is it a mental problem people have with it? What gets them past?
Breath is scary. When you breathe a lot, you feel more. Which is, of course, why it's culturally unpopular. If you were to go into downtown Los Angeles or New York building, real tall, big elevator, go up to the top floor on the elevator and do this. Everybody's punching the button, let me out, let me out, let me out. Breath terrorist, let me out. But in fact, the more you breathe, the more you feel. And that's a good thing. But it's a little scary for some people when they first start and go, wait a minute, that's a new feeling. I'm not in control of that feeling.
Because going back to the 60s, my parents were doing lots of therapy modalities back in the 60s, and we were learning about body armoring. So I've known about this for a long time, and so certainly breathing, feeling is carried on the breath, life is carried on the breath, but we don't, only recently with Tantra have we been talking about using breath to connect to sexual ecstasy. We've been using it to connect to other feelings, our feelings of anger, rage, pain, hurt, grief, whatever, but not lower. And so
pleasure, positive, ecstatic breath work, as opposed to the rebirthing or something designed to bring up your trauma, but rather instead something designed to expose you to much greater pleasure. And it's super easy. It's super easy. You don't have to breathe a particular way. There's a couple of little techniques that will work better than others, but it's very, very simple. And I found myself on a path. because I was learning it quickly, because I had to teach it quickly in order to save lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And also I was communicating it to a gay men. They weren't interested in a lot of theory, you know? And so that taught me how to explain tantric sex to people in a really super easy, friendly manner.
Golly, so, Barbara, what's Tantra? I hear a lot about it these days. I don't know what it is.
You can think of it as a spiritual practice that includes sex, and there aren't very many of those.
No, no, there's not.
But in practical form, actually Tantra is a really big subject, and only a tiny piece of it has to do with sex. It's a religious philosophy, but for our purposes here in America, in a repressed world, it's okay to just focus on the sex part. As long as you know it's something bigger, you might, when you get into tantric sex, you might discover other interests in deeper tantra. Because it is a spiritual practice, it's said that if you go into sex completely or anything else completely, you can reach enlightenment. That's
my parents' Zen teacher tells them whatever you give your full focus to is enlightenment.
exactly. So sex can be one of those things.
My favorite.
See? Enlightenment. Right there,
Well,
obviously.
it's portable. I mean, we all have to breathe. We all have a body, and we all have genitals.
I like to, when it comes to like breath and tantric body-based exercises are super simple. PC squeezes, squeezes of the pubococcygeus muscle, the muscle you use to stop peeing. Those squeezes will pump energy up your body. Your breath will bring energy up your body. Imagine that most of us, when we have sexual quickies that are genitally based, are filling up something the size of a coffee cup right here. So that's the amount of fuel we're running on when we go to orgasm.
Oh.
With breath, with some energy pumping here, with PC squeezes, sometimes called Kegels, with your mind, with visualizations, you can fill up the 20-gallon jug. And when you light an erotic match to that 20-gallon jug of energy, you can go places you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
And for a long time. And so that's what I teach people. Basic, simple tantra that they can do at home so that they can discover the meaning in it. I think we need ecstasy. I don't mean the drug. I mean, we need ecstatic experiences. They show us where all the rest of our possibilities are.
And they are biologically based in our
Yes.
midbrain, so we are wired for ecstasy. I always say that man created God, not the other way around, because our midbrain developed before our forebrain, and so it is wired for love, connection, emotion, passion, feelings, and expansiveness and boundarylessness.
Yes.
And then the story we tell ourselves is, oh, that's God. And no, it's actually just some stimulation of nerves and chemicals and makes your brain go happy, happy. And we stop ourselves from doing that. Obviously, our personal experiences can make us afraid of our bodies, but I think it's mainly training from the culture that says only pleasure here, only sex here, only with these people, for this purpose.
It must be contained because it's too powerful. And an example of how powerful even just the breath portion of erotic breath work is, I did not try a lot of hallucinogens as a kid. I was too focused on being in the theater and very practical. So my hallucinogenic experience is very much more recent. And I tried a particular hallucinogen, and I got up to the portal, the place you want to be to meet the god, the goddess, and the universe, and I couldn't get through it. A month later, I did holotropic breath work here, actually in San Francisco, and not only did I zap through the portal, I stayed there for 3 hours.
Nice.
Breath is more powerful than drugs. Combine sex with it, and such amazing ecstatic experiences happen with partners, with yourself.
But you have to permit yourself to go there.
Yes.
So before you can even share with a partner, I have to give myself permission to feel that good, let go of that old baggage, forgive my mother, forgive that third boyfriend who said the mean thing about my body. And so sounds like a lot of it is the personal work to make yourself able to to love yourself enough that you'll let somebody in.
One of the things Tantra provides us with are ways to engage the erotic mind constructively. So instead of going to the shameful thought, to the mother thought, to the did I turn off the dishwasher thought, all of that attention is used to move energy. So you are virtually forced to stay in the present moment.